Coming up on today's show.
We have been kind of ingrained to believe lately that we all should have this like super strict schedule.
There's a lot of things out there with, in the assessment world where you have the 4 types or the 16 types. So I want to get into those individual definitions because I think that's going to help us understand a little more.
Dolphins tend to be cautious and introvert and very intelligent. They avoid risky situations, so they strive for perfection.
The power of when, today on Keeping You Organized. Well, hello and welcome to Keeping You Organized. Today we are going to talk about the power of one of the 5 W's, the when. And so this is going to have something to do with time, but it also goes a little bit deeper than that. And the power of when is also a title of a book. And we're going to bring on Chris Scrott right now to talk about that. Chris, welcome to Keeping You Organized.
Thank you. I'm really excited to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me again.
You bet. Well, we've had you on before, and we talked a lot about green organizing. If people want to go back to our podcast archive and look at that. But today we're going to talk about, I think I'm really excited actually about this subject because it brings in that time element. And I know there's more to time management and organizing yourself than just making sure you figure out how long something takes, right?
Yes. So this is the book, The Power of When by Dr. Michael Brewis.
Okay.
And I read this book a couple of years ago, and it just changed the way I saw time management. Because I used to think that we all needed to be structured and we all needed to be in a certain way. And the book just opened up so many things for me. So I've been preaching his book for a long time. And one day I hope to meet him because I found his research was just super interesting.
Oh, great. Well, let's set up the premise of the book and kind of why we're talking about the power of when.
Yeah. So the premise of the book is basically that we have been kind of ingrained to believe lately that we all should have this like super strict schedule. Like if you read, I'm an entrepreneur, I own a business. And all of the articles that I read about time management will say, here are the 5 things that millionaires do, right? And they'll be like, they wake up at 5 a.m., they go to the gym, and they eat
count their money. Yeah.
Right, count their money. Yeah, they eat a hearty breakfast, they get to the office by 9, they read their emails, they have meetings. And so there's like this very structured way that we are taught that we should manage our time. And the premise of the book is that is not true at all.
Okay.
The premise of the book is that we have internal body clocks that tell us when we are productive and that we should just embrace that. So he has 4 chronotypes, which is the lion, a dolphin, a bear, and a wolf. Okay. And he just goes through each chronotype and basically he tells you when you should be doing anything and everything in your life just based on your chronotype. And it was just so liberating to feel like, I do a lot of work with clients that have ADHD, and people that have ADHD tend to be night owls. They are not morning people at all. They tend not to sleep well. So I have a lot of clients that have a hard time having regular jobs because they would have to show up at 9 a.m. and that's really hard for them. So this book was just liberating in that way, that it just kind of give people permission just to embrace their body clock. And it was the first time that I really felt like, oh, here's somebody talking about something that is so not related to like real-time management in a sense that is like traditional, but it's so relevant to how we're helping clients manage their time.
Right. Well, it sounds like there's a lot of physical piece to this as well as the psychological, because, there's a lot of things out there with, in the assessment world where you have the 4 types or the 16 types. So I want to get into those individual definitions because I think that's going to help us understand a little more, and then how that applies to organizing and time management. So where do you want to start now? What's number 1?
Well, if you want me to read you the definition, I can. I pulled up my notes for that.
Sure.
And if you're okay with it, we can just be a little bit more like
yes,
lectural.
Absolutely. That's great.
So the first chronotype is a lion, which is my chronotype.
Okay.
They tend to be, conscious and stable and practical and optimistic. And they're overachievers. They like to prioritize health and fitness. They seek positive interaction. They're always strategizing. They tend to wake up very early in the morning. And they are very tired in the afternoon. So all of their productivity needs to be done in the morning.
Okay. Now that sounds really familiar. I think that might be my type too, because I love those afternoon naps if I can get them.
There is a quiz that people can take if they want to find out what their chronotype is. And maybe at the end, we can give them that link. They can go to Dr. Brewer's website and just find out exactly what chronotype they are, because I found that was like really helpful to understand how you should structure your day when you know your chronotype.
Okay, great. Let's go on to number 2. What's the second one?
Number 2 is a dolphin. Okay. And dolphins tend to be cautious and introvert and very intelligent. They avoid risky situations, so they strive for perfection. They have obsessive compulsive tendencies and they fixate on detail. They wake up unrefreshed because they don't get really good nights of sleep. They're mostly alert at late night. So these are like your typical night owls.
Got it.
And they are also productive in spurts throughout the day. So because they don't get a good night of sleep, their energy is kind of up and down. So you have to learn how to manage that. And I think one way that people can manage that energy is also through food, right? If we have a regular eating schedule where, you may need to have like a hearty breakfast, even though you don't feel the need to eat. And then you may have to have a healthy snack, and then you may have to have lunch. And that helps with, like, sometimes I see a lot of people just feeding themselves a lot of sugar to manage those up and down spurts. And that has an impact on our productivity too, because you're missing out when you could really be productive.
Well, that's great, Chris. Let's take a quick break now. And when we come back, we'll cover number 3 and number 4. So you are watching or listening to Keeping You Organized, The Power of When with professional organizer Chris Scott, and we'll be right back. We're back now on Keeping You Organized, talking about the power of when with professional organizer Chris Scott from Organizing Maniacs. Let's go on to number 3.
Number 3. Okay. So the number 3 is a bear, which is the majority of the people, probably like in between the ages of like 30 and 50. So they tend to be cautious and extrovert, friendly and easy to talk to. They're very open-minded. They avoid conflict. They aspire to be healthy. Word aspire is important. They prioritize happiness, and they're comfortable and familiar. They wake up in a daze. So these are the people that are not necessarily super early, but they are like the 9 a.m. people. They hit the snooze a few times before they get up. They're most alert in the morning, and they're most productive in late afternoon. So this is also something really surprising to people, once again, because you feel like you get to work at 9 a.m. and you're not like fully awake. You may have to have a couple of cups of coffee, and you feel like, okay, I should hit the ground running and I should really be productive right now. But you're just putting effort into something that your brain is not quite ready for. So if you saved your time to like do things like meetings and phone calls and things like that during those hours, if you are a bear, and saved your afternoon for your most productive work, you get a lot more done in a day instead of reversing it.
Okay. We'll hop into number 4, and then we'll dig into some of the techniques that these people can use to be more productive.
Sure. And Wolf is basically, he characterizes them as more like younger people. So they'll be like, teenagers to like their mid-20s people. They tend to be impulsive, pessimist, creative, and moody. They take risks. They prioritize pleasure. They seek novelty. They react with emotional intensity. They have difficulty waking up before 9 a.m. and they're groggy until midday. And they are not tired until really late, like midnight or after. They're most alert at 7 p.m. and they have 2 productive hours. They are productive in late morning and then late evening.
Well, listen, we're kind of out of time here. Before we go, I want to give you the opportunity to tell us a little bit about your business. And when we come back, then I want to go through each of these and talk about how we address productivity issues with them. Maybe if you were coaching someone like that. Also, another question that I'm going to ask when we come back is, can someone change their type? So I want to give you the opportunity to tell us a little bit about your business and how people can get a hold of you.
Yeah, so I own Organizing Maniacs in outside Washington, D.C., and we specialize in working with clients with brain-based challenges. So the majority of our clients have ADD and ADHD, and we do help people hands-on if they're in the area, but we do a lot of consulting and coaching to people all across the country, just helping them understand their chronotype and manage their time better, and with accountability, because I feel like we can talk about all kinds of strategies and I can give you an amazing plan and an amazing planner, but if you don't have anybody to be accountable for, you may not follow the plan. So we help people that way.
All right, there you have it, folks. We are going to be back next time with part 2 of this podcast with Chris Scrott from Organizing Maniacs, next time on Keeping You Organized.